If you've experienced a traumatic event, chances are you may have noticed it's affecting the way that you still respond in other situations. Whether it's harassment by a boss, wounded by a parent, a health scare even. Many of us have experienced these traumatic events that we may still be carrying around and responding out of. So what do we do about it? We have these traumatic responses. How do we move out of fear and withdrawal into freedom? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
Sadly, trauma is not rare. Trauma is just an emotional and physical response to an event or a series of events that is overwhelming, distressing, and breaks your sense of security. This could be a car accident or an attack, or for many of us, living through a worldwide pandemic. This is something that broke your sense of security. This is something that you feel like you don't quite know how to cope with it. And you kind of left you feeling helpless. So what should we do about it?
That's a great description of trauma, Bob. As a counselor, I'd like to add this phrase, trauma responses. Okay, so trauma responses are our experiences of trauma that then become deeply ingrained biological responses to these potent or traumatic learning responses or learning environments around us. So as simple as I've learned something to keep me safe, and so that's what I'm going to do outside of the situation.
But is that trauma response necessarily a good thing to apply in every situation, or does that actually become challenging?
Great question. Yeah, it becomes challenging because we're essentially taking what kept us safe in one situation and generalizing it to the rest of our lives, which it may or may not be a safe situation. We may or may not have needed it.
Yeah, bingo. Okay, so walk us through. What are the typical trauma responses?
So before we jump into trauma responses, I do want to go back and make sure that we clarify that there's nothing mystical or anti-biblical or engaging in this conversation. I know trauma is a really trendy topic right now, and it's one that can get a lot of pushback in the Christian realm. But what we're talking about today is just recognizing and engaging in the conversation around that God created our bodies with self-protective mechanisms to keep us safe, to natural reactions, and what do we do about those, and how do they affect them. So there's nothing weird, there's nothing mystical that is a part of this conversation.
Yeah. And I think it's really helpful to be able to integrate this and say, well, actually, there's even biblical examples of what some of these responses are to threatening situations. And I think we'll touch on those too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Jump on in. What's the first response we could have to trauma?
Okay, so the trauma responses usually fall into 4 buckets: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Okay, so the first one, fight, the biblical example that comes to mind here is Peter. Okay, Jesus is threatened.
Judas is betraying him.
Judas is betraying him.
He
pulls out a sword and he's like, dude, I'm going to fight, right? Like, I'm cutting this guy's ear off, okay? It was a strong response to a heightened moment, and his gut reaction wasn't, let me wait and see, let me sit back. It was, let's go for it. Let's do this.
Yeah, but those of us who don't carry a sword on our side, what does this look like for us in everyday life?
Honestly, a lot of times, words, right? That's probably the first one. There's the instinct to confront, to resist, aggression, boundary setting. This is, how do I force something to happen, either force my will on somebody or force them to stop something. That's my go-to reaction when things get tough, when conflict starts heating up.
I know there's some people in my life, it's like, man, their anger and their defensiveness, there's something behind that they experience, because that's coming out a lot. What's our next? So the first one is fight. What's the next trauma response?
So the next trauma response is flight. And this is either emotionally or physically distancing yourself from the threat. Okay? So think Jonah, right? He says, I don't want to go to my enemies. God told me I don't want to go. And that seems terrifying. So I'm just going to run for it.
And literally get on a boat to travel as far away from that destination as possible.
Yeah, which sometimes, honestly, talking with people in our lives or in conflictual situations seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out.
Yeah, if we're not a prophet and we don't jump on a boat to a weird Middle Eastern city or whatever, what does flight kind of look like practically for somebody?
A lot of times this means it can look like avoiding situations, avoiding people, ending relationships. It can be avoiding by scrolling on your phone, honestly, right? Someone's trying to talk to you and you're just like, I can't do this right now. It can look like disengaging.
Okay. All right, fight, flight. What's the third trauma response?
Okay, so the third trauma response is freezing. And this is immobilization. The threat is there, and so I can't do anything about it yet. This might look like mental numbness in a conversation. It could look like, just being unable to act. Yeah. So this is often the person who in stressful situations, instead of stepping up to either do something about it or run away, is kind of sitting there waiting, watching what everybody else does.
Yeah. So the book of Job in the Bible, it makes me think about his situation because it is so tragic. Like he loses all of it, like his family, his health, and then he sits in silence for 7 days before speaking. That might be, to me, a similar response.
Yeah. And it's hard to know for sure whether that's grief or whether that's a freeze response, but it certainly has the characteristics of that's kind of what a freeze response looks like.
Well, and I know even sometimes there's also simple expressions like things you mentioned, like procrastinating, like putting things off, or just like feeling really mentally blank, in situations like that, as well as just totally shutting down. It's kind of like that deer in the headlights look.
Yes.
So some of us may be prone to that freezing. I don't know what to do. I'm going to kind of shut down. But there is still one more trauma response that's really common.
Yeah, and that one is fawning. So fawning is when things heat up, the temperature increases in the room, the urge to people please or to pacify the source of the conflict in order to get it to stop.
Yeah. Okay, so another biblical example here is really interesting when you read the story of Abraham, father of Israel and like all this sort of stuff, really important man of faith. And yet on two separate occasions, he's in a scenario where a ruler like a king, he lies to sort of allow his wife into his sort of that guy's palace and say, no, she's just my sister, right? Doing what shouldn't be done to sort of fawn and please to keep them both safe in that threatening moment. And he does that twice. So I think, we're not devoid to the same reactions, and even people mentioned in the Bible aren't, right?
Yeah. And I think even in everyday life, this can also look like just even giving up your own needs in order for the conflict to stop, right? This is the person in the room who often will be, everyone else is like, I want to go here for dinner. And they're like, fine, we'll just go there. Right?
Yeah, because the irony is like, we're not saying don't serve others. We're saying this isn't serving others. This is giving to others what shouldn't be giving, be given. This is things like I'm always saying yes, or I'm always giving in. Instead of I'm making decisions for the best possible outcome to glorify God, not just always giving away everything. That alone is just off.
Yeah, and the danger in here, too, is that you're not just giving things that shouldn't be given, but oftentimes it leads to crossing boundaries or crossing into sin, things that we're not comfortable doing but are willing to just give up on our stance, our preferences, and even our convictions in order to make the conflict stop.
Yeah. So if these are recurring patterns in our own kind of habits in our lives, in our bodies and our souls, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, what do we do about it?
Yeah. So healing from trauma is a long journey. And I know we could talk for hours and hours on this subject, but one piece of encouragement I would like to offer is that healing from trauma happens in relationship. Okay. We often learn our trauma in relationship. We learn that we need these protective features in our coding, as it were, in relationship to keep ourselves safe. And so healthy, safe relationships are also the place that we learn we don't actually need these. And And if we can correctly assess that we are in safe places and are in safe relationships, we can unlearn these patterns that we've learned to keep ourselves safe.
If you would like unlock that for me, that'd be really helpful, because I'm really encouraged to hear you say like, hey, this is not a matter of just learning this about myself and then, okay, now I have to just fix myself. Saying, no, it's finding healthy relationships, like bring myself in with someone else. So kind of share with me, like, what does it mean? This idea of like safe relationships, healing relationships, like one, does that apply to God? And two, like, how does that apply with some other people?
Yeah, well, God is actually the ultimate healthy, safe relationship, right? There's still the reality of sinful, broken world. So sometimes we do need to protect ourselves from other people, but we never need to protect ourselves from God. Right?
This is you saying that is reminding me of Psalm 136 also, which to me is like a great psalm to sort of bask in God's love, because it's really long. It's like 26 verses long, but at the end of every verse in Psalm 136, it repeats this refrain: his steadfast love endures forever. So it's just hammering this nail that like his love for me, his love for you lasts forever. That is definitely a healing relationship.
And I think what's cool about that psalm too is the repetition, right? It's not one time, it's not two times. I don't know about you, but my heart doesn't learn that fast. And we're not expected to heal from our trauma that fast either, right? So like God models that repetition day in and day out. His steadfast love endures forever. So then moving on, that we also, God's plan for us is healing in relationship with other members of the body of Christ, right? And the great thing of the body of Christ is that they model Jesus, and the tough thing is that not everyone models Jesus, and so we have to find safe people who are looking to follow Jesus, looking to love him, and are safe relationships. But this is God's plan for us. It's not just his relationship with us, but also the body of Christ's relationship with us, that we would get to re-experience, relearn. Not everyone is unsafe. I don't need to run from everyone, fight everyone, freeze, or please everyone. I can stand up and be my own person in front of other people who want to love me and accept me and protect me.
Do you, maybe for just a moment, maybe throw a couple descriptors on like, how do I know a safe person? Just like, what do they look like? What are they marked by? Just kind of from your own experience, what are like a couple of things that I can look out for?
Yeah. First of all, a safe person is someone who is actively following the Lord, right? If you can mark their prayer life, their humility, their ability to learn from God, that's a good place to start. Also, a safe person is someone who respects your boundaries. The things that you're saying, okay, these are the things that make me feel safe. These are the things that I need from you, and the other person is willing to respect that. A safe person isn't going to push those things. And then a safe person is going to give you space to heal. They're going to get curious, ask the questions, not judge, and walk alongside you as they also heal too.
That's really practical to me, because I think we can ask the question, what is your next step? And it's find a safe person. If you've been watching this or listening to this and already thinking to yourself, man, I sense that in myself, I have some of these reactions to some of the hard trauma in my own life. I fight in defensiveness, or I fly. I do flight and try to get out of scenarios, or I freeze and don't know what to do, or put things off, or I fawn and give away what maybe shouldn't be given away. Then this is an opportunity to find somebody who, like Aaron just described, would just simply be a safe person who can give you space to truly step forward and process and not stay stuck where you are. If you're not sure where to start, if you feel like I don't have many friends in my life that way, I'm not deeply connected into a church to know who these peers would be, I'd recommend find a trusted pastor or counselor who can walk this journey with you, and then begin to open the circle up more and more to the relationships that God would have for you. But just start maybe with one this month. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please feel free to like this video, subscribe to this channel so you can get more of this content coming your way to help. Go to binman.org, where there's all kinds of articles and videos that you can chew on and learn from. And join our email newsletter, where you'll get a first look at resources as they're coming out, so that you can find your next step in your spiritual life. Until next time, God bless.